Today is going to end. I want to talk about this with you and gently nudge you to take a concrete step forward in your self-improvement or trauma recovery goals today. I don't want you to end today with regret about not doing anything differently. I want you to feel proud of yourself for doing something different and help you to increase your motivation for making change in your life, no matter what that is. My name is Justin Sinceri. I'm a therapist, coach, and the creator of the polyvagal trauma relief system. Welcome to Stuck Not Broken, where I teach you how to live with more calm, confidence, and connection without the psychobabble. This podcast is, of course, not therapy, nor is it intended to be a replacement for therapy. So this is a heavy topic, but a very important one, and it connects to other important and potentially triggering topics, in all honesty. Time actually might be the most important topic that I or we could ever address, and yet it's really not discussed, probably because it's difficult and it adds pressure and stress potentially. So I'm going to give you an exit right now. If you don't want to think about time, life, and death, don't continue listening to this. Stop now and do whatever else you would typically do. If you choose to continue listening, expect that I'm going to discuss some heavy topics relating to time, life, death, and choices. And I'm also going to give you something else. It's a suggestion if you need it. It might be a good idea to do something right now that helps you feel calm and grounded in the present moment before we continue on. Maybe something that uses your senses, something that connects you to your external environment. Once you have some or enough self-compassion, calm, and curiosity, then I would recommend that you continue listening, as long as you're still interested and curious. Today is going to end, and you won't be able to get it back. The time that you have left today is finite, and 24 hours of your life will have gone by again. Of course, the finiteness of time is not related solely to today, but in life as well, the broader life. To put it bluntly, everything that is alive will die. And that includes me, and yes, that includes you. So what does this have to do with you and your self-improvements and maybe even your trauma recovery? Well, I'm going to go ahead and guess that there is something that you want to change in your life. Something that you're probably frustrated with. Something that you judge yourself for doing day after day, potentially. So let's call this something your behavioral adaptation. A behavioral adaptation through the lens of the polyvagal theory is something that you do to make yourself feel something different. Something you do to reduce, whatever pains that you have, probably. It could be something personal, like you don't want to feel depressed, so you use a drug. Or your chronic anxiety leads you to pick or pull at something to calm down, or pseudo calm down, kind of calm down. You temporarily resolve your shame through self-harm. You binge eat instead of feeling alone. A behavioral adaptation could also be something interpersonal. For example, you can't live with your rage, so you take it out on loved ones. Your intense inner anxiety is too much, so you obsessively focus on your kids. You can't tolerate the depths of sorrow you feel as you watch your adult children waste their life and accomplish nothing, so you try to appease them and pray something changes. I share these examples because they are very real. There's a strong likelihood that you can relate to one or more of these. And on my end, there's no judgment. There's no judgment in these examples from me, though I know, and I think you know, that you do judge yourself for these. Or, whatever your behavioral adaptation is. Let's get back, though, to the issue of time and possibly changing these behavioral adaptations. So if you'll allow me again to be blunt, the amount of time that you have left to change that behavioral adaptation is lower now than when I began this sentence, and less than a minute ago. The number of days you have left to change that something is less now than yesterday. Time has gone by that you will never, ever get back. Therefore, the amount of urgency to make a change has increased. Less time, more urgency. And on top of this, to make things even more urgent, you don't know how much time you have left. I personally tend to assume that I'm going to live until I'm like 90. But in reality, I have no idea if that's going to happen. There's no guarantee on how much time I have left or how much time you have left. And so that means whatever you want to change in life, such as your behavioral adaptation, whatever it is you want to change has some date at which it will no longer be possible to change. And we don't know what that date is. So yeah, there is a lot of urgency when it comes to these behavioral adaptations. This probably makes you uncomfortable, and yeah, it should. There is literally an endpoint to the time that we have left, that you have left. You might believe there's an afterlife, so I'll word it this way. There is an endpoint to the time that you have left in this life. For my fellow non-believers, this is it. There is no comfort in an afterlife for us. This is it. For all of us, the discomfort of death is heavy. It feels like anxiety. It feels like pressure, as it should. It's a very uncomfortable, very heavy topic. I honestly don't know if there is a topic more important than our mortality. In my opinion, this should mobilize us to take action and make change today. We should connect with one another in acknowledgement that we all have things to work on and a limited amount of time. Death and time should be things that unite us and keep us grounded in the present moment. I tend to find the thought of death at first anxiety-producing, almost paralyzing, but only for a brief moment. Then my system self-regulates back into its safety state, and thoughts of appreciation come to my mind. Appreciation for the people in my life and for the opportunity to impact the world in a positive way, like through this podcast, even when dealing with a heavy topic like death and time. But also an appreciation for simply being alive. However, you could totally ignore this uncomfortable truth and go watch bullshit on TikTok. Your anxious mind will successfully be distracted, your emotions will numb, and that'll be that. You'll have lost more time, yes, but you'll have spared yourself some discomfort. You could make the choice to do nothing different in your life. You can choose to ignore this uncomfortable truth. You could totally do that, and I would not judge you whatsoever. And I don't think you should judge yourself either. I would encourage you to take complete ownership of the way you choose to spend your time right now and 2 months from now. Hopefully you're working on it and things are getting better. Hopefully the adaptation is less intense, happening less often, and the emotions that are driving it are less intense as well. And if that's the case, you'll have a lot to be proud of. Even if you're not perfectly satisfied with who you are and the choices you make, you'll have made progress and you'll feel good about that. I don't think you need to constantly work on getting unstuck, but I do believe in two key things when it comes to this. Number one, you should do some work on getting unstuck. And number two, you should give yourself some rest from getting unstuck. I think you should put in some unstucking work because I think it's worth it. The experience of relief, the reconnection with yourself, with your present moment, and maybe even with the people in your life is worth it. Even a little bit of unstucking makes a big difference. I also think you should give yourself rest from the unstucking work. You don't need to do it, the unstucking work constantly, but deliberately put in a little work each day, then give yourself some time on TikTok if you like to, or whatever your social media vice is. Or actual rest. Maybe you do need actual rest, like being mindfully still in silence, or granting yourself a moment of safety and connection by doing something you enjoy. My goal here is not to scare you. My goal is to help you put things into perspective. Honestly, a very sobering one. And I encourage you to take action on that today. So put something into practice that you have been learning, and maybe you've never tried it out. Now might be the time to hire a therapist or work with the coach if you can, or even sign up for that course that you've been eyeballing. I almost don't care what you do to make change in your life as long as you're not harming yourself or somebody else. So maybe today, the first step you make is to follow those little safety impulses that you have within you. If they're guiding you toward joining a flag football league, great. If they're pulling you toward therapy, lovely. If they're pulling you toward online courses, wonderful. I actually have a really good option for you if you're ready to take the next step and you like what I create here on the podcast. I have the Total Access membership. This gives you total access to my trauma recovery courses and my private community, the Stuck Not Collective. You'll get the answers you're looking for and the connections with others to support you in your journey. So no more confusion, no more being alone. You can find out more through justinlmft.com/total access, and I'll also have a link for you in the description. So that's what I offer, but honestly, I don't care what you do as far as what your next step is in your unstucking or self-improvement process. Again, if the right step for you is to join some sort of bicycling club, maybe now's the time to take a step forward. If the next step for you is to plant little yellow flowers in front of your house so that you have something pleasant to look at when you come home from a miserable day of work, go have at it, do it. Maybe the next step for you is to reconnect with your family or apologize for something. Honestly, I don't care what it is. I have what I offer, my Total Access membership, but I really want to just gently nudge you in the right direction, and only you'll know what that is, in all honesty. This episode is actually special to me. This is the 200th episode of Stuck Not Broken. So this is kind of a big milestone for us, and I hope you've been here for quite a while, and I hope that you continue to stick around for quite a while. In the next episode, I have a really special treat, and that is talking with Dr. Stephen Porges. He created the polyvagal theory. So next week, I'm going to release our discussion. It's about an hour long, and I think you're really going to like it. We delve into things that he doesn't typically talk about, at least not in interviews, like critiques of the polyvagal theory. So 200th episode, very special. Next week, I'm going to start a new series called Polyvagal 201, and that's going to start off with Dr. Porges, but then after that, I'm going to try and tackle some of the critiques of the polyvagal theory because it's really dense, and I'm going to see if I can understand it and then translate it for you. I'll also be discussing some new concepts that have been added into the polyvagal theory, including a couple of new mixed states and a couple other really exciting concepts like vagal efficiency. So don't miss out on that. But I also want to thank you for being with me here this entire episode. This is heavy stuff, and I'm glad that you made it through and that you're here with me at the end of this. There's tons of hope, and I know you can make that step that you're needing starting today. Fellow Stucknut, I do hope that this episode has been a helpful resource for you in helping you take that next step forward in your trauma recovery process. Bye.
This podcast is not therapy, not intended to be therapy or be a replacement for therapy. Nothing in this creates or indicates a therapeutic relationship. Please consult with your therapist or seek for one in your area if you are experiencing mental health symptoms. Nothing in this podcast should be construed to be specific life advice. It is for educational and entertainment purposes only. More resources are available in the description of this episode and in the footer of justinlmft.com.